down Cash, and welcome back to Cash Talks Football, where we break down all the goals scored in the Premier League. And today we're going to talk about, no, not so much the game. We're going to go on my little Manchester United rant about the Ineos group and go into some sort of business as well, actual proper business, not what you hear from these TV pundits and these Muppets, these other... because I'm going to Goldbridge. I listened to his 20-minute video about finances, and he was pretty much wrong on pretty much every single thing he was saying about the debt at Man United, the 700 million, you need to pay it back and all of this. Utter nonsense. He's one of those sorts of people that would win the lottery and go bankrupt because he doesn't understand finances when you get a big pot of money at once. Right. So let's just, first off, there's so much to go over with Manchester United and Ineos. I'm going to talk about that. If you want to skip forward for the last minute and 2 minutes when I do the goal, crack on, I'll put the timestamp down there. But the lack of people's understanding of high-end business and how it really functions is just astounds me. Okay, so let's because he was breaking down the difference with Chelsea giving them, selling themselves hotels and doing all of this stuff. That's bad business. And they're doing it because they're a different whole company structure than Manchester United. Manchester United have two owners, basically. Two people trying to run, one person really running the club and somebody else that owns the club. So let me ask you a simple thing. If you're living in the downstairs room of the house and the main owners that own the main house, are you going to come and pay the mortgage off, pay that that 700 million pound debt off and look after and get, so that they don't have to pay it anymore? You're not going to do that. So the debt structure at United is very, very tricky because you have these two owners that are kind of running but not really running the club. When you're talking about Leicester putting money back into the club because the one owner owns it, so he's putting his his debt into equity and changing the structure of it to get PSR to get money out. It's a different setup because you're not fighting with two people trying to take money out of the club. Now, there's a lot more that goes on with the 700 million. I'm going to try to break this down a little bit more as well because people just don't know what they're talking about. No one's been disclosed in the media who owns the 700 million debt. I know it's between financial institutions and bonds, but it's not disclosed. We don't know who that debt goes to. So there's a massive chance that the Glazers are paying themselves and they don't want to pay that debt off because they get the money, they take the money out of the club and they're paying themselves with the debt. Now, there's also another thing why you keep debt. You keep debt there's a whole bunch of reasons you do it as a company. One of the other reasons you do it is because you get tax breaks and tax write-offs of the deductions of the debt. So in a company that's, they're probably worth about 4, maybe 5 billion, maybe more, the tax breaks on that debt is probably huge in the UK. So they have to keep the debt on because it helps their books balance with the tax man. It's much easier for them. And the other main thing, I was listening to Goldbridge prattle on about, why don't you just pay the 700 million off? Oh, let's just draw it here, right? And let's make it easy. Let's say 100k, right? You got 100k and you're going to pay the debt off. This is the debt, or you're going to buy a car for 100 million. It's the stupidest thing you can do. That 100 million on the low end will make you 20% a year. Okay. If you've got it invested in like a quantum fund, you'll make 32%, or Berkshire Hathaway, you'll make a standard 26%. So you're going to make £20,000 a year on that. So instead of using that to pay off this, you'll use that money to pay it off. So if you've got 700 million, right, to pay the debt off, you'd be making 20 to 30% on that a year, using that money, keeping your 700 million and then paying the debt off. You wouldn't get this money and just dump it into an abyss and lose it. It's stupid. And now let's get onto the real, because I think there's a lot more going on in Man United than people really understand. Because if you think about it and you break this down, and I'm going to ask you this question. You've brought in a manager who can't succeed. You don't have the players for him. You've spent all your money on the old manager and the transfer budget last season. Okay? So he's not going to succeed. You've brought him in. What do you think's going on there? Because I know, because I've done lots of things in my life. I've not just been a football coach for a very long time. My suggestion is that they're running down the club because the takeovers come in. And you don't drive up the asset value, you drive the asset value down. You create negative press by getting rid of people like Alex Ferguson and all these hanger-ons, and you're doing that to raise money. Why are you raising money inside of the club? Because you're looking for a takeover. Why are you trying to whittle all these funds down, make everything, raise up the ticket prices to get more money in, not spend in the transfer window, not do any of those things, it's because Ineos are looking to take it over. And they have to raise the money in the first place to do it. Like, if you can't see that, it's so blatantly obvious that new manager, different tactics, doesn't have the players for it, team's going to perform poorly, going to drive the asset value down. Right, let's get as much cash as we can by cutting everyone's jobs, raising up the ticket prices, bringing in that all as we can to try to buy the Glazers out. But we need to get that asset value down, so let's just crash the club to the end of the season and do that. Let's make sure we don't buy anyone in the transfer window, because we're going to need any 50, 100 million that we spend on them, we're going to need for when we try to do a takeover. That's blatantly obvious what's going on. Now, they might not get it done by the end of this year, but they probably will try by the end of next year. That's what it looks like to me. That's what it looks like to everybody that's got a sense in business. They're not interested in what's going on the field yet, because they're not in control. And that you are not in control of a business, are not going to waste all your money and make sure the other guy benefits from it as well. You're going to get the other guy out first, and then you're going to do everything properly, and you can. And that's how it looks from the outside. But tell me what you think. Let me know in the comments below. But I've got a load more things I was going to go on to about the problem with leveraging your own debt, and when you're taking the debt out when the club's worth, $1 billion, and now the club's worth 4 billion, and now that 700 million net asset you can write off with 1.4 billion on the tax deductibles of it because the asset valuation's gone up. There's a billion things on there that you can talk about. The fact is, well, that no one knows who owns that 700 million debt, and I think it's the Glazers paying themselves. Yeah, I mean, there's so much to go on. And the simple way Goldbridge was trying to explain it and say it's this simple and it's this, just give us money and players and we'll do this. No one's going to do that because there's two owners. You're not going to pay off the mortgage of the house somebody else is owning with you. You're going to get them out, then pay it off. Yeah, but there we go. Let's get on to this goal anyway. All right, so ball's going in behind here. Oh, wrong little thingy. Ball's going in behind here. You can see the open space. Remember, space is your enemy when you're defending. You want to close it down. It's a half decent ball. But when he runs in there, you can see he runs in with no sort of real purpose and plan of what he wants to actually do. First off, you've got two people in the box. The first thing you're probably thinking is trying to get in across, right? Because that's what you want to do. And as he gets here, he's had a little look, but he goes to try to whip a little ball across. And no one's really making any movement. Right, okay, I said making movement. He doesn't really want to make movement. He actually does. Both players, he's running back post, he's running here. Someone just needs to hold. If he just holds and let these two players run, he'd have a perfect pass for him. But they don't. Let's move that on ever so slightly. Do you see how he's come running in and he's shut down the angle? Because he's here, the only place he can shoot is here. And he's blocked himself by these two players here. Just hold, just hold. By the way, defender does a great job coming back to cover. Buys the dummy, buys the cross, and goes to ground pretty easily, in my opinion. But massive open space here, and I am shocked of how appalling this pass is here. So he's cutting the ball back to nobody, absolutely nobody. There's no one here, right? There's no one here. Oh look, there he is. He's running onto it. He is honest, ref. He is. He's coming. The pass is too slow. It's no pace on it. Easily to be cut out. I mean, it's just awful. I think you saw it in a training video or watch Man City do a pass like this once. Thought this will be good, and knocked it. It's just terrible. So as he's trying to run into it, clearly it's going to be cleared and it's going to get knocked out. In comes Martinez with just a horrible hit and hope. Bounces off him. Sorry, I'm not sure it bounces off from Fulham. Let me know if you know. Just goes straight over the goalkeeper's head. It's a nothing shot. Absolute nothing. It's a Sunday League type of goal. Boof. It really is. And that's where United are at the moment. They're not going to beat teams. They're going to try and defend and try to get a lucky 1-0 goal like that until everything off the field gets taken care of. And I have a feeling that's going to be a very long time. Other than that, I'll see you next time on Cash Talks Football.